Talk a lot about science and dieting, all right, and it's pretty much just the basics that we don't do anymore in our normal lifestyle, all right. And you're gonna see, guys, if I notice up here real quick, the way we break it down, guys, for performance nutrition and macros is gonna be calorie balance, which is key and is number one, all right. Then two is gonna be your macros, all right, which is gonna be proteins, carbs, and fats. And again, when I say proteins, carbs, and fats, it's in that order. Who's been told that fats should be first, carbs should be second, protein should be last? Anybody ever heard that before? Has anybody ever been doing anything else? Has anybody ever been told carbs go first, then protein, then fats? No? All right, there's a lot of things that you'll hear sometimes like, hey, this is what's priority. All right, you'll hear me go into this, guys. I'll talk about proteins, I'll talk about carbohydrates, then I'll talk about fats. And then I'll go into food consumption and the timing aspect. And you'll hear me talk about the performance aspect of things. And then I'm gonna bring Dana up, all right? She's been one of my, pretty much not testers, but she's been underneath me and I've been following her for the past 10 weeks and we've been working with her. We've put about 10 pounds on her in 10 weeks and we've kept her the same lean body mass, all right? But she's been doing it though, not the way I do it. I've dropped 10 pounds in 5 weeks, guys. But again, I'm a weightlifter, not a CrossFitter. And you're gonna see there's gonna be differences between CrossFitting and weightlifting, or doing them both together in 2 days, or an endurance athlete and different types of things like that. And that's when I'm gonna come into consumption, timing, and training volume. All right? And then from there, guys, I'm gonna talk about supplements. Any of us take supplements at all? Protein, casein, I'm gonna talk a lot about that stuff too. I'll talk about this stuff also, guys. And ways to get carbohydrates, all right? Like I said, guys, I was talking about I do got templates for different types of level of or weight of athletes. Again, when we do macros, everyone goes off the lean body mass, right? Okay. Well, the fact is it doesn't really matter on your lean body mass. The fact is that all we're trying to do is get our numbers into whatever we want. All right. And the reason for that is because we got to talk about calorie balance. Who here thinks they eat enough throughout the day already? No one, right? All right. For instance, guys, when I say calorie balance, what happens is I put in pretty much, depending on different training days, on a rest day, I put in about 2,300 calories. All right. On a light day, I put the same calories in, but my carbohydrates go up and my fats drop. My proteins stay the same. And then when I go to a moderate day, and you see the papers in front of you guys, I have them broken down into rest day, light day, moderate day, and a heavy day, all right? And then when I go into a heavy day, right, and that's very rare when I go into a heavy day, all right? For CrossFitters, you're gonna hear me talk a little bit about that CrossFitters should be hitting heavy days. If you're a competitive CrossFitter, you should be hitting those pretty much twice a week, all right? Going into that, guys, calorie balance is key. Why? Because what happens is, if you go into a calorie deficit, what happens to you? We start losing what? Muscle. We start losing muscle, which is huge, all right? We can start losing what else? We start losing weight, and a lot of us are like, hey, I want to lose weight. Great, but you want to lose weight what? The right way. You want to lose fat, you don't want to lose muscle, okay? I'm using this, guys, for notes. All right, talking about that, guys, who here wants to gain weight?
I want to gain muscle.
You want to gain muscle, right? So guess what you got to do?
Eat.
You have to eat more, all right? How about this, guys? Who wants to get leaner but lose weight, though? All right? All right, with that being said, we got to do what? We're going to eat more, all right? But we're going to cut your calories back, okay? But you're also going to increase what? Activity, all right? So going into that, guys, a lot of the time, all right, everyone likes to be like, all right, who's done a low-carb diet? Atkins. Who's done Atkins, right? And they saw themselves lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, or like in 3 weeks. Who's seen that? That is not healthy. That is not healthy. All right, one, because you're breaking down muscle tissue, right? Now that muscle tissue you're breaking down that fast is going into what? Into your kidneys. All right, now you're cleaning most of it out. Pretty much it was all water weight. And then what happens after that 2 or 3 weeks after you lost 10 pounds?
Go back on.
It gets right back on, right? The healthy way to lose weight, guys, or to gain weight, is 1 to 2 grams a week, all right? And like I said, I use Dana for example. We put on 10 pounds on her within pretty much 10 weeks. That's pretty much 1 pound a week, all right? Going into that, guys, talking about that. If we want to gain weight, how many calories do you think we need to increase? Anybody know?
3,500.
You want to if you want to gain weight, you want to increase 3,500. That is completely not true. No, it's fine. I'm not trying to say you're wrong. What you got to do, guys, is you have to increase 500 to 1,000 calories a day if you want to gain weight. 500 to 1,000 calories a day.
That's about 3,500 if you do 500 times 7.
In the week. In the week, yes. Yes.
Oh, I meant for the week.
Okay, yeah. No, I thought you meant the day. I was like, no.
I meant for the week.
Okay, so yes, when we go to that now, all right, what ends up happening is people start asking, okay, if I increase to 3,500 calories a week, all right, is that carbohydrates, is that muscle, or is that fat? Or, I mean, is that protein? Well, everyone knows that protein takes what? Takes less nutrients to do what?
Break it down.
To break down, right? But now fat to do what? It takes more nutrients to do what? To break down or to store, right? Which is what happens is if I put too much protein in my system, what happens to me? It turns into fat.
Yes.
If I put not very much protein into my system, now my muscles do what?
Burn.
They break down, right? If I put too much carbs in my system, what happens to me? I start storing it into fat. If I don't put enough carbs into my system, what happens to my body? I pretty much start just shutting down. Why? Because we need to restore our what? Glycogen levels. All right? Our glycogen levels is what keeps our muscles to recover and rebuild. All right? Which also helps keep us in our mind and our CNS, which is our central nervous system, fueled at all times. Who here actually has done a workout before throughout a whole week for 5 days? And on that last day, they feel completely tired. Who comes in here like that? You're not putting enough carbs in. That's it. You're not putting enough carbs in. All right? It could be a lot of factors, but what it comes down to is even if you are sleeping 6 hours a day or a night, and you're not putting enough carbs in, you're still not going to recover faster, and your fatigue level goes where? Your fatigue level goes up, and now I'm tired most of the time. All right? So as a CrossFitter, because all of us in here are CrossFitters, we should be putting in 1 gram of carbohydrates to our body weight. And that sounds like a shit ton of carbohydrates, doesn't it? That sounds like, wow. And when I say that to a woman now, a woman's like, okay, I weigh 135, 140 pounds. You want me to put 140 grams of carbohydrates in my system? They're like, you're shitting me. You know, and I'm being a realist, right? I'm being a realist because you're like, wait a minute, I have to put 140 grams of carbs in my system? You look at brown rice, and I'm tired of brown rice. Tired of the sweet potato, all right? And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit of food consumption here in a minute, guys, and how to get those carbohydrates in as an athlete and you're doing a performance, okay? Stand by your best. Get your shit off. All right, so now when we want to talk about losing weight, right? Now what do we got to subtract? How many calories do we take away from ourselves a day?
250?
500 to 1,000. The same thing, just the opposite way now. All right? But what do I cut first? Anybody can answer that? Fats. Why? Because my proteins and my carbohydrates are what? Are my performance macros. All right, and I'm going to talk about that. A lot of times you hear these diets, you're like, oh, cut your carbs out first. That's fine, cut your carbs out. Within a week and a half or 2 weeks, as a CrossFitter, go and try and do a rope climb, go and try and do a workout. Your strength's going to go poof, and go straight down into a hole. You're going to be tired all the time. What I do with my weightlifters whenever I'm trying to cut a meat for them, all right, I don't take away the carbohydrates or the protein. The first thing I take away is their fats, all right? And then vice versa, if I'm trying to have someone gain weight, what do I do to them? Then I added what? A tablespoon of pretty much nut butter after every meal, which at the end of the day puts 300 to 500 calories in. Does that see what happens? Going on to that, guys, who's afraid to weigh themselves when they're on a diet? Who's afraid to weigh themselves when they're on a diet? Who's afraid to weigh themselves in general? We all are, right? I'm not gonna lie to you.
I weigh myself every day.
Okay, so with that, that's good. I like to hear that because she's coming from where? She's coming from
Don't weigh yourself.
she's coming from a macros idea of understanding this type of stuff, right? So with that being said, guys, we should weigh ourselves twice a week. Why? Because when we're tracking our weight, it's the same thing when we're tracking ourselves in a workout, right? I'm on a strength program, and I know 1 week I had 70%, the next week I had 75%, but I gotta do 65, 70, 75% for 3, 3, 3, and I gotta write down how I'm feeling, right? Or I know as I'm increasing. Well, the same thing when I step onto a scale the first week on my diet, and I see I'm still at 121, right? And then I step on the scale again on week 2, and I'm sitting at 121. I step on it week 3, and now I'm sitting at 122 or 121. And then I step on the scale again on week 4, and I'm still sitting at 121. what should I do with my diet now? I should adjust my calories. And again, I come back to this because I can talk about this all day, guys, and hit this and not even worry about this, because most of us can't even do this, all right? Because this is the most important. Does that make sense? Right? And I'm gonna pass around real quick, guys. For example, for an athlete that's 125 pounds, right? She's gonna be putting in 1,650 calories a day on a light day and a rest day. But the difference between the rest day and the light day is the grams of carbohydrates she puts to her body weight. If you wanna write this down, guys, on a rest day, we're putting in 0.5 grams of carbohydrates to our body weight. 0.5. Then on a training day, a light day, which a lot of us will be doing, unless you're doing a CrossFit workout and you're doing a what? And you're doing weightlifting also. I know a couple girls in here that are doing 2-a-days, right? And I'll go into that. Now when you go to a moderate day, you want to go 1.5 grams of carbohydrates to your body weight. All right? Now when I'm on a heavy day, I'm going 2 grams. Does that make sense to you guys? Kind of see how that happens? Now let's put that into perspective now. So let's say you weigh 125 pounds, right? And we put you on a heavy day, and now you have to eat 250 grams of carbs. But again, you're working out 3 to 4 times a day, or you're working out, right? You do a CrossFit workout, go home, eat whatever else. Now you come back into the gym to a weightlifting program, do your weightlifting program, go home, now you go doing your speed and endurance program. Do I got some people like that?
Okay. Should you do that once you are the body weight for your height versus someone who needs to lose 50, 100 pounds?
So if I'm gonna be, so say, let's just for example, say someone weighs 125 pounds, right? I'm automatically gonna put them down to a 120 athlete.
Okay.
Because I already put them in a calorie deficit, which we just talked about. If I already put them in a calorie deficit now, I'm feeding them to that number, to where now their body's just gonna start dropping to it. And when their body starts dropping to it and they hit that 120, they actually feel normal.
Okay.
With that being said now, their strength doesn't go anywhere. For me, example, guys, and I'm going to use myself, and I'm going to use Dana. I have a couple of athletes that I've done this on. For myself, I dropped 10 pounds in 5 weeks, which is 2 pounds. It's the most you want to drop in, within a week. I dropped 10 pounds in 5 weeks. I walked onto the weightlifting platform and I lifted the best clean and jerk, weighing from 215 pounds, weighing 202 pounds. I had the best meet of my life, dropping that much. And all I did was go from 215 pounds of all my numbers, I dropped down to 205. Pretty much a week out from the meet, I was like, whoa, I'm way too light. I pretty much had to start eating more to get myself back up to 93, right? And your body will let you know. For instance, like Dana, she hit me up the other day, she's like, hey, I'm hungry. And I was like, well, what are you weighing right now? Like, if you're hungry, eat. And I'm like, well, she was like, I weigh 129 pounds and I'm still going off the 125. I was like, well, that's the reason why. You need to let me know these things, right? Again, it goes on to weighing yourself once a week or twice a week in the same conditions. So we can adjust what? Our calorie balance. Okay? And is everyone cool with the calorie balance thing now so I can move on? Do you have any more questions?
Later on, but...
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Maybe you'll answer it later on.
All right, so we're going into proteins now, guys, and I already talked about this. Next, we're going to go into macros, all right? So our macros we're going to talk about is meat protein. How many grams of protein?
For what?
Just for a calorie.
Oh, 4.
Yep. All right, carbs, how many grams per calorie?
4.
Good. And fats?
9.
Yeah. All right, so with that being said, guys, all right, what ends up happening, all right, is most women don't always need to put in pretty much 1 gram per body weight of protein, all right? If I'm trying to have a woman lose weight, right, and she is over 20% body fat, then I'm gonna put her where? I'll put her at that 1 gram, 9.9 grams. If she is below 20%, right, now I can actually just leave her at 1 gram, all right? Because of the fact that now let's say I have a woman that weighs 150 pounds and she wants to drop down to 145, right? Me putting in 1 gram of protein into her system is not gonna be as equivalent if I just put 0.8 in there. Because when I put 0.8 in there now it's helping her do what? Cut back a little bit on the calories. Now our calories drop a little bit, all right? So if a guy weighs 10% body fat, he still needs 1 gram of body weight because that's going to lean muscle mass. All right. What happens, guys, is most people don't ever touch that much protein in a day. All right. I guarantee you have a diet, a high carb diet, a very low protein, and a high fat diet. And is that correct or wrong? Most nowadays, whenever we eat somewhere or whatever else, it is filled with French fries, burger, whatever else. I'm not gonna lie to you, I do the same thing sometimes too, right? I mean, I eat like that. People see the way I eat, they're like, how do you eat, Pop-Tart after your training session? Or how do you do this? Or how do you do that? And it's like, it goes into, all right, who thinks they can have a donut after their workout? Raise your hand if you think you have it. You think it's completely right. You can. You can. Why? Why can't we have that? Again, it goes back to it fits my macros. It fits my macros to go back to hit my calorie balance. But after my training session, my insulin is what? Spiked. So which that means is I can put in whatever I want into my system and it will break it down and turn it into glycogen and recover. So what ends up happening, this is what I'm gonna bring Dana up here in a little bit and talk about the food consumption, all right? Say I have to put in 300 grams of carbohydrates in a day. I'm not gonna sit there, guys, and eat 2 sweet potatoes. Screw that. I'm not gonna sit there and eat 4 cups of rice. I'm not gonna sit there and eat 4 things of oatmeal. No, I'm not. Yeah. But you know what I will do to keep myself happy is I'll go pour myself a bowl of cereal or get a donut and eat 3 donuts, or I'll get myself and get a Pop-Tart. Like I was upset today because after my training session, guess what I forgot to eat? My Pop-Tart. So am I in a calorie deficit right now? You bet I am. And I felt it actually. You asked Eric, and I felt it. I was like, dude, I'm tired, bro. And because after my training session, I didn't eat my donut or my Pop-Tart like I was supposed to. Again, guys, I've been doing this, and I'm sitting at literally, I've stayed there. I've stayed at 202, 203 pounds since my last meet. I've stayed there doing the same thing. Again, so when we go to now, we're talking about when we're going into carbs now, guys. Carbs are going to be your what? Is the second most important. All right. When should I take this? I just finished talking a little bit about it. What's up?
Right after.
You should be taking it around your training activity. That means pretty much you have a 6 to 7 hour window when you should be taking in most of your carbohydrates. Pretty much you should be taking in 80% of your carbohydrates in between a 7 hour window from 2 hours prior to when you train to pretty much 2 hours after you train. All right? So last time I ran this, guys, I pretty much broke it down like science and it confused so many people. And I've learned to just bring it down to simple terms. All right? Pretty much you want to put in 35% of your daily carbohydrates in an hour and a half to 2 hours prior to your training session. All right? You can write that down too, but it's not enough. All right? Again, this is stuff you want to write down. I do this like in class.
Repeat that.
An hour and a half to 2 hours prior to your training session, you want to put in, put in 15% of your carbohydrates, of your daily carbohydrates, 15%, 15% of race
What
rice.
about people that work out at like 6 a.m. in the morning?
So I'm about to go into that right now. I'm about to pass out something. Oh no, it's not hard at all. It's not hard at all. So again, an hour and a half to 2 hours prior to your training session, guys, put in 15% of your daily intake. All right? Then during my training session now, between when it starts to where it ends, I want to put in 40% of my carbohydrates.
After?
From the time you train, when you start training, to when it ends. You want to put in 40% of carbohydrates. Again, I have become a big fan of Gatorade. Some people don't like it because they're like, well, it has all this sugar in it, or it hurts my teeth, I need to brush my teeth, I don't want to get cavities. All right? Again, for myself, guys, it really doesn't bother me because I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about my performance. All right? I have done Carbolin and I have done Vitargo. All right? And here's the Vitargo here, guys. It's just a carb mix. I have done it before, guys. The only problem is I don't have enough. It doesn't have enough sugar for me. I feel like to keep me going through my training sessions. All right? So everyone understands that during my training session, I want to put in 40% of my daily intake. Okay? From the start I walk into the gym to get ready to start warming up, to when I'm lifting weights or crossfitting or doing whatever, to right when I'm finished, I want to put in the last thing. So just break it up.
I have a question about losing weight and gaining weight. Like, if it's not about how you look, you want to lift heavier. Should I assume that I want to gain weight?
See, and that's the thing is, like, a lot of girls are like, and this was funny because I just watched a video the other day with Renaissance Gradation about their asking. The question was just asked that was most women want to be like, hey, I want to lose weight. So okay, cool, we'll let me lose weight. All of a sudden they drop down 10 pounds. They're like, man, I should have stayed up there.
Yeah.
Like, how about you just be strong and look beautiful? Because it's gonna fill you into it anyways. It's gonna fill you into it. No matter what. Eat to how you feel for your performance, and it's gonna mold you into what you want to be. I guarantee you. As long as you do it right. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I'm thinking, I think I was asking the opposite of that question, or that answer, which is like, if I want to perform better, should I increase my protein and carbs to hit a heavier weight?
Yeah, so say what do you weigh, 140?
130.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just went by height. So you weigh 130, right? You want to jump you up to 135? I'll put your proteins and all that stuff at 135. Same thing I did with Dana. She started at 121, and to make sure she was dedicated to it, I left her at 121 grams of her body weight, which for her calories was like 1550. Was that correct? Yeah, about 1550. And we did that for 4 weeks, and I made sure she hit it because that showed dedication. Because I tell you what, a lot of you guys are gonna be like, yeah, I want to do this. I'm not saying y'all will or won't. A lot of you guys will be like, yeah, I want to do this, and you're gonna learn that to turn into a job. It is. Eating for life and eating for performance, guys, is a job. But it's part of our life, right? We want to do it. You want to look better. You want to feel good, or whatever else. It's eating for a job. So like, I would hold you there for 4 weeks and see how you do, because she stayed there. I had another athlete, Kaylee. I dropped her from 146 down to 140. She got faster. Her strength numbers went through the roof. Again, she was like, I want to be at 140. I'm like, yeah, I didn't want you at 140. I want you to lift as a 63 kilo lifter. Plus, you'll be faster as a CrossFitter. Again, I don't understand. If you look at a CrossFitter that weighs 160 pounds, right? He's lean. How fast is he? Pretty freaking fast, right? You look at Rich Froning, right? If he was fat, you think he'd be as fast as he is? No. Why? Because we need to be lean. So we're doing what? So we're cycling that blood and we're cycling all the oxygen through our system as fast as possible. Okay? Answer your question. Good. All right. Going back to, where was I at? Mine just went all over the place.
Carb intake.
Oh yeah, carb intake before, during, and after. Within 2 hours after your training session, guys, you want to put in pretty much 35% now.
You said those numbers again?
Yeah, so 15%
40.
prior to your training session, which is an hour and a half to 2 hours prior. 40% of your carbohydrates for the daily intake goes in during your training session. So when I walk into the gym, and I start warming up, do whatever else, I start lifting, start doing whatever I should be taking my 40%. After I'm done, I put in the rest of what I have not taken. Okay? And then about an hour and a half to 2 hours later, I put in that 35% of the carbohydrates. Okay, 35%. Now the rest of the day now, I have what now left? I have 20% of my carbohydrates. What do you think the carbohydrates that I should be putting in my system now? Pretty much vegetables. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna talk about macros. So proteins, guys, stay the same all day. So if you weigh 100, let's say for example, you weigh 125 pounds. For 5 meals a day, guys, my protein pretty much stays at 25 grams. All right, stays at 25 grams every single meal. Right? Now, if I want to break my carbohydrates down, if I don't go into timing, I just want you to hit your numbers. We break that 125 grams of carbohydrates into 5 meals. How many grams is that now? Still 25. So now I'm doing from meal 1 through meal 5, I'm doing 25 grams of protein, 25 grams of carbohydrates. Okay? All right. Now going into fats. The reasons why fats is last is because all it's doing now is just filling the rest of your calories for the day. That's all it is. That's all it's doing. All right. Who's been on the trend of doing bulletproof coffee? Where bulletproof coffee is just where you put coconut inside your coffee and you drink in the morning once you wake up. No one's done that in here? Okay, you have.
I've done it, I've tried it.
All right, or with butter or whatever else.
Very good butter.
All right. And who saw themselves actually gain weight off of it?
I didn't lose weight.
Okay, so she didn't lose weight. All right, that's a good thing. Why? Because what you're doing to yourself, guys, is what happens is when you wake up, you have a 4-hour window to put that protein in your system from when you wake up. All right, and fats. You don't want to be putting carbohydrates into your system once you wake up, unless you're going to work out right away. What's up?
Oh,
Okay.
I'm disagreeing with that.
So with that being said, guys, do not wake up in the morning and go into your coffee and put a shit ton of coconut oil or butter in there. Instead, put protein in your coffee. I promise you, it tastes really good. All right, instead of using some kind of French vanilla creamer, use vanilla protein. right? You can measure how much protein you put in the morning, right? For me, for instance, sometimes I wake up and I have to get here to coach. I have to coach at 5 a.m., which hasn't been in a while. But when I was waking up, making coffee, and I put in 30 grams of protein in my coffee real quick and drank that while I was here coaching. Until I had my first meal, right? Okay, so with the fats being the very last thing, guys, with that being said, guys, when you're rest day, your fats are actually higher than your carbohydrates on your rest day.
Talk a little bit about bulletproof coffee.
I just did. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
did talk about it.
We talked about it one time, but it was mainly I think the fall of that was the lack of protein.
The lack of protein getting to your system. Yeah, I just finished talking about that.
Yeah, he just said it.
So, for instance, guys, on a rest day, right? Remember we talked about the rest day where the proteins stay the same, right? Carbohydrates now go to 0.5. So if I weigh 125 pounds, I'm putting 125 grams of protein in. Now I cut those carbohydrates in half and I go down to 63, just to round up, just 63 grams. Now my fats are going to be at 100 on a rest day. Why? Because again, what are my performance macros? Carbohydrates and protein. What I want these carbohydrates to do for me when I'm actually getting ready to train is make me feel like Superman. I promise to you. Makes me feel like Superman. What happens is I have one of my regional athlete, Rachel Cerner, right now. I put her on this about in January. I put her to start doing this. So she wasn't eating very many carbs at all. Nothing at all. She was like, oh, I'm just eating paleo, whatever else. We started throwing carbs into her system and her numbers went, and she actually started feeling a lot better. And she went weighing from 148 down to 145, 144, without even trying to cut her. Because what happened to her? So we actually put her in a calorie balance, because before she wasn't eating enough, right? But now with the fats, I'm pretty much just filling in the rest of the day. Again, I go back to it. Now.
So wait, repeat that. So on a rest day, you do 0.5 grams of carbs.
Yes.
And then
whatever calories you have left,
we turn into fat.
You turn into fat. Yep, you turn into fat. So let's do this for instance. I'll use this. So protein's 125 grams, right? I'm gonna pass this out so you guys can see it. On a rest day, you do 63 grams of carbohydrates. And on a rest day for your fats, you're doing 100, right? If I was to do 125 times 4, you can do that on your own, guys. 125 times 4, which is 500, right? And then you're gonna do 63 times 4. That leaves you with, I think like 320 or something like that? Or 2 something.
240.
240. So now you put 500 and 240 together, puts you around 9 something, right?
Yeah.
Okay? And your calorie intake you're supposed to be hitting is 1,650. You divide that by 9, and now it gives me my fats that I'm supposed to be putting in for the day. And for most of us, if I can't break, for us, a lot of us, we don't eat 5 meals a day anyways. So what I do to people that are trying to do this, I only put them on 5 meals because it's a stepping stone for them. Once they hit that 5 meals a day, now I can increase them to 6 meals a day. All right, and now what happens is the meals start breaking, the numbers go a little bit smaller to where it doesn't feel like they're eating their stuff in their face and they're about to throw up. Okay, all right, and everyone knows what I'm talking about over there. Like, I'm just trying to get all this food in there. Trying to get it. It's not one of those things. All right, that's how we put the fats into our calorie balance. All right, any questions over the fats, guys? No? Hold on, I got a couple more things with that, so make sure we get in. All right, guys, again, when we're using fats, guys, all right, on our rest days, what are we pretty much doing for our body? We're just pretty much using it to keep our body going, right? Just keeping the furnace burning, all right? So when we talk about that, a lot of times what happens is, if we put carbohydrates in right away in the morning, what happens is we put our body in a fat storing process, right?
Unless you're gonna work out.
Unless you're gonna work out, yeah. Unless you're gonna work out. What's the use of putting carbohydrates in the morning? Well, I need to put fats in and protein. Who loves bacon? We all do, right? Well, guess what? It's high in saturated fat. You know what I'm saying? Who cooks with olive oil? We do, right? Cook with olive oil. Who cooks with Spam? Or what do you call it? Hey guys. It's been a long day, all right? But we cook with Pam, right? A lot of times what happens is if you look at your list right now, guys, look at your list right now while I'm talking about fats. What does it list on there that's actually good for you to eat? What does it list on there? Look at the fats, guys. again, it's only talking about the monounsaturated fats that we want to put in our system. That's the key thing that we want to put in our system. Makes sense now, right? Cool. Again, guys, there's not very much on fats. All it is really is just a filler for calories. That's all it is. If I want to cut somebody lose weight, I cut their calories, I'm going to cut their fats first. If I want to have someone gain weight, or I'm going to move their numbers up a little bit, but then I'm going to increase calories by adding what? Fat. Why? Because what happens is if I hit these two numbers all the time, I guarantee you that you'll be feeling just as good or even better in the gym. I promise you that. But now if you start cutting this and this out, but you leave this here, or you keep this up there, this does nothing for you. I promise you. This does nothing for you. Say you do a CrossFit workout, a weightlifting program for the day, and you only put 100 grams of carbohydrates in, but you put in 130 grams of fat. Who cares? It does not do anything for you. Even though you're hitting your calorie balance, you're depleting your glycogen levels that you need to restore. That's pretty much what it is. So at the end state, guys, fats are just a calorie filler. That's all it is. Okay, what's up?
What about zoning?
I've done zoning, and I think it takes too much math and confuses me too much. And there's so much stuff to it, like foods and stuff. I like the Renaissance a lot because of the fact that it's real basic. It's like, hey, you got these foods to eat, this to eat, this to eat, and this is the way you do it. It's that easy. Again, like I said, I'm not really big on zoning. Again, it's by blocks. So when we go by blocks, one block is going to be what? You know what I'm saying? It says 7 grams, right? Is it 7 grams? Right? Now, if you're doing zoning now and you put 7 grams of protein into your body weight, now you put yourself in an excess of what? You're going to continue just gaining, if you think about it. Does that make sense to you guys? Right?
What did you say it was called? Renaissance what?
Renaissance periodization, and we'll talk about it. You can buy the book online, guys. Either go to renaissanceperiodization.com or go to Juggernaut Training Systems. All right, they have the book.
There's broken down in 3 parts where 10% of the people in the world do better on the higher fat, 62% do better on the moderate fat, and the rest do better on the low fat. What if someone truly knows they do better on higher fats or they do better on higher carbs?
That comes down to hormones now.
Okay.
In the body. And not trying to get too deep into that, but that comes into the hormones of the body and the metabolism of somebody on how they were raised.
And if they know them and they tell you that information, you'll be able to work with that.
We can work on it, but just know that I'm still going to be going off of a lot of this. And that's the thing though, for instance, for Dana, she came off of a high-fat paleo diet, where she looked at me whenever I told her she had to put these kind of carbs in, she looked at me like, what? Like literally, she gave me that look, like, you tell me I got to put oatmeal in, or like this kind of, and so she figured a way out to make it happen for her. And now, she gained weight by doing what we did, even though she had been on a long-term high-fat diet, and it still worked. So going into a metabolism and metabolic and hormone thing sometimes comes down to the brain, to where it's like whoever sometimes thinks about it when they're trying to eat, they're like, man, I don't want this at all, right? I'm not a psychologist, guys, or anything like that, but that's pretty much just saying like, hey, you have it's not an eating disorder, it's pretty much an eating disorder. That's what it comes down to. Like, we all have an eating disorder somehow, some way. No matter what it is, I promise. I do too sometimes. When I gotta hit my calorie balance and I can't figure out what to eat for the day, I freak out. Who does that in here? I freak out. Like today, I told you I wasn't able to eat my Pop-Tart after my training session. How do you think I felt? It's like, fuck, man.
Like you box in the
Kind of
car.
got to rearrange your whole day, too.
Yeah, and I had to now, luckily we're gonna go eat sushi after this. I can put a little more carbs in. But now I'm not even going off the timing aspect of things. I'm just trying to get my calorie balance. Does that make sense to you guys? See how I'm coming back to that? Because now if I can't do this stuff, now I just gotta make sure I'm doing this. All right? So moving on now to consumption, to food consumption. Right now, if you look at your paper, guys, you have proteins on there, you have carbohydrates, and you have fats. All right? It pretty much is pretty simple. It breaks it down for you. Pretty much 1 ounce equals how many grams of protein?
Wait, I didn't hear you.
1 ounce of protein equals how many grams of, 1 ounce equals how many grams of protein? 6, right? 2 ounces equals 12, 3 equals 18, 4 equals 24, 5 equals what? 30, 6 equals 36. Okay, is that, and it's on there, guys, you see it on there?
No, I've never broken it down like that.
You've never broken it down like that, right? Again, so one thing that I love about Renaissance periodization, guys, it's very basic and simple. All right. And again, some of this stuff I came up on my own, but I took a little bit from Renaissance and I put it in here to show you guys. So it breaks it down for you guys. No, you don't have it? You might have ran out of papers. Hey guys, we might have ran out of papers for everyone, alright? Just share with everyone.
Weigh your food.
Huh?
Do you weigh all your food then, so you know what you intake?
Yeah, so yes, I do weigh on my food, but if I can't weigh on my food, guess what I read? Labels. And that's where we're gonna go with the food consumption, because we all can read, right? Right? And what's cool about eating Chipotle, eating Chipotle?
I thought I knew that voice.
Okay, so Bushfire. Everyone has ever heard of MyFitnessPal?
Yeah.
I love
Your best
MyFitnessPal.
friend.
It's your best friend, exactly. I love it to death because whatever I'm putting into my system for food consumption, right? Whatever I'm putting into my system for food consumption, I can go on there and type it in and it pops up. I swear to God.
Yep.
I've gone to Pickup Sticks and ordered just their chicken teriyaki and white rice, typed it in, and it gave me everything I needed for a serving. If I need to cut it in half. You know, no matter where you're at, it's in there. All right? So going on to food consumption, look at it. Those are the basic guidelines that you want to follow. All right? When we talk about lean protein, it talks about fish. It talks about chicken. It talks about turkey. It talks about lean, 90% lean beef, 90% lean, what else? It's off the top of my head right now, guys. Steak, right? And then it goes to the next thing. Now we're gonna go into talking about protein, guys, which, who gets tired of eating eggs?
Never.
Yes. All right. I tell you what, guys. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, and I used to like going through schools and stuff like that, and like having to be an instructor. I ate so many hard-boiled eggs that I can't do it no more. I just can't eat eggs. Like everyone sees me come in here, I do phage Greek yogurt for my morning protein. Because half a cup. So now we're talking about food consumption, guys. We're talking about food consumption, right? What do I put in the morning for protein or whatever else? I can't use eggs no more because it just makes me sick to my stomach. So now I just use phage yogurt, which is pretty much a cup or half a cup of it is actually 24 grams of protein, and there's like no carbohydrates in it, no fat.
What about the sugar?
There's no sugar in it because it's plain. It's the phage 0%. Yeah. All right. And then, like I said, I told Nicole, I was like, hey, why don't you do some phage yogurt with some almond butter? Because in the morning sometimes, whenever I look at my template or whatever I have to do for myself for eating in the morning, if I'm not training until the evening time, I'm putting in almost 2.5 to 3 servings of fat in the morning when I wake up with my protein. So that means I'm putting in 40 grams of protein, I'm putting in 30 grams of fats. And my carbohydrates are like 11. And then as I start getting closer to my training session, my food consumption changes a little bit. My protein stayed the same, but now my carbohydrates start increasing, and my carbohydrates increase and my fats start lowering. Does that make sense? So going to talking about consumption, still on there, let's talk about carbohydrates. There are 3 types of carbohydrates on there. Everyone see that?
Simple, complex.
Yeah, simple, complex. And pretty much it breaks it down. It goes high glycemic, it goes into low glycemic, and it goes into your veggies. All right? Who loves eating Pop-Tarts? Who hasn't had a Pop-Tart in the longest time ever? Who hasn't had a donut in a very long time? Right? Who, all right, talking about that, right?
Right, we're gonna eat donuts.
Yeah.
So, again, all that kind of stuff, guys, that higher sugar, you look on there, that higher glycemic, it talks about Gatorade, Kool-Aid, Tang. It goes into any fruit juice. Who has had Tang in a long time? Actually, yeah, you can drink Tang during your training sessions. I swear to God to you. And that's the funny thing, is everyone's like,
Did you notice that Joe left?
You better talk right now.
so I literally carry a big thing of Gatorade in my bag with me every time I train, guys. And I put in close to about 40 to 80 grams of Gatorade in during my training sessions.
But that's because you get 300 grams of carbs.
Exactly.
I would too if I got that much.
So like, and that's where like you
I
have
love
to.
vegetables so much that I'm like rationing it out. Like,
That's good. I'm glad that you do that. I wish everyone was to do that because that means you ration your vegetables out, and then when you're running your training cycle, you can put whatever you can put the higher glycemic carbohydrates in. Pretty much, you can put in a pasta. You can put in wheat bread. You can put in wheat tortilla. An hour and a half to 2 hours prior to your training session.
I think last year I weighed 175, went on IFYM. I was eating like a donut a day or 2 Pop-Tarts.
And yogurt at
I
night.
dropped down to 153.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but I was stronger, faster,
Carly's doing the
everything.
same thing.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and you know the thing
just
about
dropped 25 pounds.
Yeah, and I see her.
First 6 weeks, 12 pounds, gone.
And again, that's a
She
pound
didn't
of.
do any of this tiny stuff. She just
Most-
ate
Exactly.
after.
Most-
Yeah, and again, because we just want to do calorie balance. I guarantee if I was to get a hold of her and I told her to start doing timing,
I know, I tried to get her today.
if I put her onto timing, I guarantee you, things will change for her. Because I put,
I'm gonna tell her.
because like I said, I put Rachel Cerna on it, I put Kaylee Wagner on it, I'm getting ready to put Courtney Chan on it.
She knows Rachel Cerna.
Oh yeah, they're best friends. They feel in the same program together. I put her on it, and Rachel felt completely different. She was like, "Oh my God!" Like I literally was doing this for Rachel pre-open workout. I would send her what her carbohydrates, proteins, and fats she should be eating an hour and a half prior to her training sessions.
So it doesn't matter what carbs she wants to eat. It could be it just needs a good percentage of carbs.
Yes, exactly. And so what I'm gonna do, guys, real fast. I'm gonna pass this around, guys. I'm gonna pass these around. So right now, you're gonna see a template for a 125-pound athlete. You're gonna see a template for a 130-pound athlete, or 137-pound athlete. I'm sorry. Here you go. Let me pass this around, guys.
That would be me. The higher one.
You're gonna see 140. There we go. Here's 140. Here's 140, guys. All right. Here's 145. Here's 145. And then here's a 150-pound athlete that I have. But the only thing I have for this is I didn't put the timing in it, guys. All I did was break down the calorie balance on what you should be eating. So if you want to look at it fast, so that's good.
So why would you do that only for the 150 and above?
No, I just did that for an example to show that I was focusing on calorie balance.
Okay.
All right. So now, if you want, look at a 180-pound athlete. You'll see how I broke down the timing for everyone. You see the difference in that?
So at first, does it matter if you don't time it right?
No, because what matters the most is calorie balance. So I'm going to go into percentages talking about these real quick. I have a couple more, guys. Pass these around. So 50% of your diet, guys, are making you perform better is this. Another 20% is this, which puts me at 70. Now another 20% puts me here, which is 90%.
So timing is 20%.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? And then when I go into supplements, that's 10%, which puts me at now 100% to focus on my performance.
Yeah.
But if I want to focus on my nutrition only, my macronutrition, boom and boom, which is only 70% of what I want to work.
Which is what I'm doing right now.
Exactly what you want to do. And now if you want to start working on timing and food consumption of timing, this will add another 20% and put you at 90.
Right.
Right? So if you're looking at this, guys, you'll see some of y'all guys got the templates of them broken down. You see everyone training in the morning. Right now I have it set up for a meal, one meal, and then training. Right? And the way you can look at it is just look at your meals instead of looking at what time you work out. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't care what time you work out. You work out whenever you feel the best. Unfortunately, some of us can't do that. Right? Some of us have to work out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, guess what you're putting in the morning once you wake up? You're putting in 40% of your carbohydrates. That means if it's a light day, and you wait and look, what athlete count do you have?
Oh, you said 150.
No, let's look at, so 180 guys. So say we work out at, say we work out at 6 o'clock in the morning and your first meal is gonna be 40%. You're putting in 72 grams of carbohydrates in once you wake up, going into the training session. How do you do that?
Right.
Well, on the way to the gym, on the way to
If I put that much in before I get here, then they're gonna put my stomach in the start on now.
But there's some people who don't do well with food. I don't do well with food.
Again, so
I
some
do-
people
I have
don't-
a steak that has 24 grams of
Okay,
carbs.
so with that being said, if you don't do well with food going into a training session,
Right.
but you do well with the food after your training
Yeah,
session,
right.
then put in your 40% after your training session.
Okay.
I only do, the reason why I do from start to finish is because it makes me feel better. I feel more energized.
So just take your 15 and 40 and just kind of start a little bit before and make sure you finish that after?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And it just pretty much flip-flops. That's all it really does. Does that, so like for me, for instance, guys, I woke up this morning and I had, I trained at 10:30 today. So my first meal was pretty much just protein and peanut butter. That's all I really had. I had 40 grams of protein and 2.5 scoops of, 2.5 servings of peanut butter, right? And then I stopped and got a burrito because it had, no, listen to me. Because it had a wheat tortilla, had chicken, and it had a little bit of chorizo in it, and it had a little bit of potatoes. Again, I had my fats, I had my carbohydrates, and I had my protein. I had that, which now that's putting me around now. That's about 15% of my carbohydrates that I need to get in before an hour and a half to train. Then I got the training, right? I was not going to put in a crap ton of Gatorade for the day because I didn't need it. But I did put in 60 grams of oatmeal with 30 grams of protein, no fat. If you look on there, there's no fat being consumed during your training session. Why? Because what happens to fat? What happens to your body when you consume fat during your training session?
Isn't it slower?
It slows down the
slows
breakdown
down.
of carbohydrates to your glycogen levels, and which is not good for you. Now, for instance, if you're an endurance athlete rolling at a 65-70% pace, go for it. Put in as much fat as you want because you need it.
Yeah.
Because the intensity is going across. But as a CrossFitter and a weightlifter, we don't need fat in our training session at all. All we need is the performance macros: protein and carbohydrates. All right. That makes a lot of sense now. Is it coming together for you guys?
Yes and no, but I guess when you actually do it, it'll start to make sense.
Exactly. So like when I talk about it, it's like, okay, it's kind of like I've been doing it now for almost.
It's kind of like CrossFit on your first day.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So going into timing now, guys. If you look, all right, food consumption. Still talking about timing now, guys, and your consumption. The fats on the back end. So say you train in the morning and you get all your carbohydrates in from 6 o'clock in the morning till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now. That's pretty much that's 6, 7, 8 hours of your carbohydrates you put in your body to recover. Now my carbohydrates drop and my fats increase towards the end of the day. All right?
It'll help you sleep.
But okay, so if you like carbohydrates before going to bed,
I do.
Train before going to sleep. I mean, train around 6:30 at night. Because now you get to put in 15% of your carbohydrates at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You train at 6:30, now I get to put in 40% of my carbohydrates. Now at 8:30, 9 o'clock, now I get to put in cereal and whatever else, or eat a pancake with my dinner.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying, what I'm doing? Because it's all doing what now? I'm all... But again, but the thing is, so it's like, for me, that's what I do. That's what I do because I'm focusing on, because I'm doing that because I'm focusing on what? My performance. All right, and this is what I'm gonna bring in dinner now. Oh, easy, bud. Capone likes my diet, that's why. I'm gonna bring in Dana real fast, guys, and talk about how she actually does, because she does it super clean. She does she puts in 136 grams of sweet potatoes in one sitting. I don't know how she does it. I cannot do it. So guys, she's put up 2 vlogs already about how she's increased her dieting and whatnot like that. And they're pretty good. They talk a little about what she's eating pre-workout, post-workout, and cater more to the lifestyle of life in general. I'm talking more about performance to get as much carbohydrates in my body as possible, so I can hit my and be just as strong.
See, I feel like I really need to understand this part first and enjoy it.
See?
And get down to my body weight that I need and lean muscle mass. And
Yes.
then once I get that geared in,
Then you can come
kind of
over
like the only other person I know besides Eric is Carly had done it. Now I feel like this would be her step because she's now has arrived, and I feel like this is her because she's
Exactly.
a competitor.
And that's whenever I put new people on this, I always put them on here for 4 weeks.
Okay.
Because I make sure they can do this for 4 weeks. It shows dedication that they can do it, and they understand it's gonna be a lifestyle. Dana didn't start doing timing until what, 5, 6 weeks?
I was going to say that I did 4 weeks of...
Like, you can come and talk, go for it.
Okay.
All right, hey guys, so Dana, she owns Primal Bake Shop.
Yeah.
Primal Bake Shop.
Primal Bake Shop, guys. It's like, just go for it.
At Primal Bake Shop.
So 4 weeks I did just calorie balance, and that was overwhelming because I did paleo first, so I ate whatever I wanted within paleo stuff at any time, and it was usually 3 times a day I would eat only, and it was just a ton of fat, and I ate a lot of carbs, but it was sugar from cookies or muffins, or of course because it's bake shop.
Paleo.
And it was paleo stuff, but it wasn't performance food really. And so for 4 weeks I just hit my calorie balance, and I treated it like a job, and I didn't mess up for 4 weeks. It was pretty intense. And that's when like George says, you know that you want to do it, and then you can handle more. So definitely recommend only thinking about calorie balance for 4 weeks, especially if you don't count calories right now at all. I never weighed my food, I didn't care about any of this. So also my diet was really high fat, pretty good carb, and low protein, and I didn't know that because I know a lot about food, and I would bring post-workout food before I knew about this. You guys saw me, I'd always eat eggs. I'd bring hard-boiled eggs, but I'd eat 2. I don't know, I just knew that I needed to refuel my body. I didn't know a certain amount of grams or anything like that. So after every time I worked out, I'd bring a banana and 2 hard-boiled eggs.
And the kids too.
Yeah, and all the kids would eat my eggs. bring hard-boiled eggs for them too. So I was eating really high fat, not enough protein, and I was lean. Like, I felt good all the time because paleo, I was like eating clean. So, and I felt really satisfied. I wasn't hungry. My workouts, I was energized during it, but was I like building muscle? No. And I wasn't improving. So if you just want to feel good, like stick to the calorie balance and also do like really clean foods, because that will give you enough energy throughout your workouts. You'll feel good, but like, will you increase your athletic performance? No. Like, and I have a testament to that. So the way of doing this, I really feel like it put both of my worlds together, because the reason I like paleo is because I used to be hungry all the time because my blood sugar was really messed up, like when I was eating grains and just too many carbs in general, like just bagels and whole wheat and everything, because that's what you thought that you were going to eat. So so once I did paleo, my blood sugar was regulated, so then I just felt my energy and everything was stable throughout the day. And so putting these two together, that's where it comes in, is when you're training, that's when you're having your carbs and your protein, because those are the ones that are giving you, those are the parts that are for athletic performance. The fat it's satiating, right? You feel good when you eat fat. It tastes good, like you just feel full. But do you need that when you're working out? No, you don't want to feel like full. You don't want to feel, you don't need those feelings when you're working out. So putting those two together, you are capitalizing on eating enough protein and enough carbs like during your training, and then just relying on the fat to make you feel full. And fat is really good for you, and it's really good for your brain. So there's no way that you need to like cut out fat. It's just, when is it important? So,
talk about, what I wanted to talk about is the food that you eat, like what she eats now compared to what she used to eat, and how she adds in more protein.
How do you hit the performance numbers as clean as you do?
That's what I want. Like, how do you hit the performance numbers as clean as you do compared to what I do or have other athletes do?
What is your
I think it honestly just comes down to what I like to eat. And so,
Which is what?
like, I like to eat food. So I would never want to drink Gatorade instead
Yeah,
of eating.
I'm with you.
Like,
Okay, yeah, so,
Unless I have to eat probably 300.
like if I have to, like if my 30 grams of carbs is like this Pop-Tart, I'd rather eat half a sweet potato because I just like food.
Yeah.
So, but then at the same
Real
time, real food, I just like, and when you eat real food, you all know that you can eat more of it. So I think I just like to eat food, and I like to cook and stuff, and I like to
think
have a
sometimes
variety of
though, also,
flavors.
if you guys really try to hit your numbers and you're at a deficit, it is difficult, really difficult. Like Goose, when last year she couldn't hit the numbers ever.
Who couldn't hit their numbers?
It just
Listen,
like,
no,
What I did
check it
is,
out.
the last time that I did it for 2 weeks,
Yes.
instead of doing, so it's supposed to, we broke up my numbers into 5, so what I would do is I would just have 3 meals and 2 protein shakes in between with the numbers.
But I'm saying, it was the same way for me, but then after 2-3 weeks of hitting your numbers, you're starving because now your body's used to it and you're like, oh my god.
So with that being said, your body should never go.
One more thing, because I can kind of help with that part, is the first, I'd say 3 weeks, every night, I would be short on protein. Like, it'd be 10 o'clock, and I'm like, screw this, I have like 30 grams of protein, and none of the other stuff. Because that was showing, like, how my past habits had
No, mine is fat.
followed through. And
I've had
I didn't
3
have
tablespoons of
protein
butter
powder.
one night.
Oh,
I was
it's
like,
awesome.
oh my
Like, so
god.
I was
it's
just
amazing.
eating like plain chicken, or I was literally choking it down. But I did it for 4 weeks just to, you gotta commit to it. I did it. I just ate the plain freaking salmon from a can for weeks. You just do it.
Did you get hungry?
Huh?
Did you get hungry after 3 weeks?
What do you mean?
After you hit your numbers for 3 weeks, your food, did you ever get like, all of a sudden get hungry, you want more food?
Yeah, but that's because I'm gaining weight. And that's what I wanted to do.
So like going on that, like, so say we get hungry after 3 weeks, right? That is just a mind thing. That's all it really is. A lot of times it just comes to a psychologist, like your brain is just, your brain is just telling you like, you're so used to eating a certain way, all of a sudden you start eating now this way, and now your brain's like, I'm hungry. But in an instance, you know that you're not, you're already eating 5-6 meals already, it's 10 o'clock at night. You should usually probably be in bed. You know, does that make sense? Like, because, you know, as we're coming up, we go back to, you know, we're coming up, you wake up when the sun comes up and you go to sleep when the sun goes down. Right? Back in the old, way past in the day, in ancient days, and that's now getting told another story. But now your body's still used to that. Like, it's back, it still goes to that. So if you get hungry at nighttime because you're hungry and you hit your numbers, it's just because you're hungry. Drink more water, guys. Like, seriously, like, I drink more water. Like, I had people, like, I had a buddy text me today, he's like, I'm working with him from back in Texas right now. And I'm getting ready to cut him down, and he's a vegetarian. It's even worse. And he was like, hey, dude, I'm hungry today. And I was like, well, have you eaten your numbers? He's like, yeah. I was like, when is your next meal? I was like, oh, in like 2.5 hours. I was like, how much water you drink? He was like, oh, a little bit. I was like, how much fat you put in prior? And he was like, oh, I didn't put enough. And I was like, do a scoop of peanut butter or whatever you can to, like, for your side. He's like, all right, cool. I was like, do not eat the whole can. Just do a scoop and that's it. But again, it's because the reason why you become hungry, guys, is one, you're not drinking enough water, or you're not putting the numbers in the way you need to be. Again, like I talked about today, I didn't put in my post carbohydrates in, and how did I feel afterwards? I told you guys, I felt like crap. Again, because my body's so used to doing that, and all of a sudden I forgot to do it and went to that. All right.
Be accurate of your measurements. Like you have to buy a food scale, and you have to be accurate because these are really precise numbers. Like it just comes back to the commitment thing. Like you're doing this to really follow it to a T. You're not doing it like to generally, oh, I'm about this number, you know, like, so you need to be accurate, and because people always underestimate how much they actually eat. They think that looks like a half cup, but it's like a cup. So measure it.
It looks like
Yeah, measure it, weigh it, and that's it. About the real food thing, it's just anybody, you can do this following any diet, and that's just the way that I like to do it. But you can, on the spectrum, you can eat whatever you want and fill up these numbers, or you can eat the cleanest. That's what it did for me. It just made me eat more clean because instead of eating cookies for my carbs, I had to eat vegetables because I wanted to feel good. So you can be on the spectrum anyway. Like, don't get discouraged. Like, you don't have to do it my way. You don't have to do it George's way. Like, most people will find it somewhere in the middle of that.
What works for you, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, guys, I don't eat donuts and Pop-Tarts and drink Gatorade 24/7. I don't, honestly, I don't. Like, they're like, and what's funny is you guys don't see me ever eat a rest day diet because I'm never here on a rest day, which is a Thursday for me. So like yesterday, and like my athletes that see me coach on a Thursday know that not to fuck with me because I drop down to 100 grams of carbohydrates. And I'm a very angry person because I'm pretty much putting in vegetables all day with protein. It's a struggle. It is because and again, it goes into carb timing, or it goes into calorie timing and calorie cycling. That's pretty much what you're doing. Because what happens is all the other diets, and I'm talking about a lot of this stuff, all these other diets that we're doing, guys, is you're just hitting the same numbers every single day for 4 weeks. All of a sudden, your body plateaus. Well, with this, on a rest day, you're putting in 1,650 calories if you're 125 pounds. Then on a light day, you're putting the same thing in, but your carbohydrates go up and your fats go down. Then on a moderate day, you increase to almost 2,150 calories if you have a 125 pound athlete on you, somewhere around there. Now your calories increase, right? So say you do that so say Monday is a training day of a light day, right? Which is a gram per body weight for carbs. Then Tuesday is a heavy day, which is a moderate or heavy day, which you're putting in now 2 grams to your body weight, right? And then all of a sudden now Wednesday's a rest day and you get to drop your carbohydrates all the way down to 0.5. Think about how you're gonna feel, right? But what happens to you though, guys, is your body's never getting used to what you're doing. It's always it's fluctuating, so your body's not gonna get stuck in one spot. And that's why it works. Because you're not on just one thing all the time. Because you're cycling your calories and you're cycling your carbohydrates and you're cycling your fats. Your proteins stay the same. That's pretty much why it works. It's science. That's pretty much what it comes down to. It's science diet. All right? Because we've done a diet for 4 or 5 weeks or 6 weeks at the same numbers, and we plateau, don't we? We do. We plateau. And that's when we have to adjust things. Again, you have to adjust your calories. But with this, you really never see a plateau. And again, like I said, I've talked with Eddie Shaw. He's the owner of Renaissance Periodization. Pretty good friends with him. and he talks about all the time. He's like, I don't ever see athletes plateau. He's like, what I do see is I hear athletes get hungry because they've increased weight, and we have to adjust their numbers just to go to their body weight now. But now when we get into that, now it's either they're going to stay there and maintain, or we're going to keep moving them up. It's on what the athlete wants to do, but they never plateau. They just get more hungry because now they weigh more, and their body's telling them, hey, I need you to feed me because I'm breaking down. That's all it's really doing. That's the difference between talking about macros, performance nutrition, and Renaissance periodization compared to a lot of the other diets. All right. One more thing, guys, and we're done with this. All right. We can go into questions afterwards, or we have some stuff to talk about real quick. Supplements. Who takes supplements? All right. The key supplements I'm talking about, guys, is whey protein. All right. And I don't think it's on there at all. Is whey protein, casein, creatine, branched amino acids. All right, and then if you're going to be taking a carb mix, all right, if you're not going to use Gatorade, they have Carbolin and they have the Target. All right, but for people like me that like gains on a cheap price, I go to Gatorade. All right, that's a lot of, honestly, that's what it is for me, guys. I can't afford to eat a high price diet like Dana can. I can't. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't afford it. I coach full time. I go to school like full time. You know, I'm living a college life student. Like, I can't afford to do that. So, but I can't afford to pay $4 for a family pack of Pop-Tarts that I can get my calories in after my training session. But I tell you what though, I know how to go to Sprouts or go to Walmart and buy 12 pounds of chicken for $12. And that lasts me 2 to 3 days. I know how to go to the store or go to Chipotle and ask for, hey, I need 2 things of rice. And it comes out to pretty much $4. Everybody see what I'm doing there? Like, I'm still eating clean. I'm asking for vegetables, I'm asking for this. Or I go to the store and buy this, I'm still eating clean. All I'm doing is I'm just trying to hit my numbers after my training session or during my training session for people. I'm not saying that you go and eat donuts and Pop-Tarts and all that stuff throughout the day. You're not. You're putting in veggies, you're putting in the proper carbohydrates in there, right? All you're doing is just trying to hit these numbers again. Calorie balance, and it comes back to this, all right? So, who takes fish oil? It's good for you. Who has inflammation sometimes?
What?
Inflammation, like your knees hurt them sometimes, just inflammation in general. Take turmeric and ginger, guys. Turmeric and ginger is just a root. It can be pill form, you can do it in the liquid form. I've been taking that for about 6 months now, guys, and I'll tell you what, I've seen a big difference. Yes, is there times where my knees hurt like hell? Yes, because I'm front squatting 4 days a week, right? But overall, the inflammation in my body goes away, all right? Who takes CLA? Anybody ever heard of CLA? All right. I take CLA also. Have I seen anything off of it? I don't know. I do take HMB. All right. It's just pretty much a nighttime recovery aid that helps your growth hormone kick up a little bit while you sleep to help you recover faster. All right. Who takes magnesium?
Take ZMA.
All right. ZMA. I do not take ZMA. Why? Well, not just crazy dreams, but you just pee it out most of the time. There's no need for it. And there's research on it causing like prostate cancer on men. So all I do is take I just take straight magnesium. All right. So those are pretty basic supplements that you can take.
What is magnesium for?
Magnesium just helps your muscles relax, pretty much. You ever done Epsom salt baths? That's all it is. It's just magnesium. But now you're taking a pill form to help you sleep at night. All right. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up everything that I'm talking about today. All right. Again, like I said, a lot of this, guys, it just comes back to this right here, calorie balance. All right. What we're gonna do, guys, now is if you want a template and you want to go just calorie balance, and you want to test it out for 4 weeks on your own, and we can do that. What we can do is we can just do it on your own, where you just follow it on your own and you do your own thing. I think, Eric, what else did we talk about doing?
We're gonna take 10 people.
Yeah.
Just as we'll create a private group and a kind of an accountability group where you'll have like unlimited text messages and kind of meeting, maybe a once a week meeting with George and whatnot. Kind of tracking more in detail. We can take like 10.
Yeah, we'll do 10. So pretty much the way it's gonna work, guys.
And then it's 6 weeks. It's a 6-week thing, and it'll come with a template. But then after 6 weeks, we can pick up another 6 or 10 or something.
And with that being said, guys, what we'll do is that first 3 to 4 weeks, we'll focus on calorie balance. And then after that, if you want to get into the timing of things, we can talk about that. If you want to stay at the calorie balance, we can do that. All right. The person who's going to be helping me out is going to be myself, Eric, and Dana's going to be helping out. Dana's going to be more the person to go to who needs help with more of the lifestyle of eating for real food. I'll be more the performance aspect.
Yeah, I think we'll break it up into 2 groups.
We'll
Maybe like some that are more just interested in the lifestyle and healthy eating versus, or if it's just specific getting lean or gaining weight more on a healthy lifestyle, then more maybe of the ones that want to increase performance. I think both ways are going to have performance aspects to it, but
well, and that's the thing though, is like you have to understand, guys, like if you weigh, let's say for an athlete who has a 140-pound athlete on them right now, who has it? 137, right? How many grams of carbohydrates do you have to put in on a moderate day? Which is, say, CrossFit and weightlifting day? 205. For a woman, being 205, has to put 205 grams of carbohydrates in. That's a lot for a lady, right? Most women look at 205 grams of carbohydrates and are like, how the hell do I do it? Right? Wine? Right? Obviously, if you want to do it more for the lifestyle that way, but if we're doing it for recovery because we have to train again in the afternoon, right? Then yes, put in the Gatorade, put in that Pop-Tart real quick, and then go to it. All right? I tell you what, guys, there is some high-level athletes out there right now that are weightlifting and CrossFitters that are following this diet right now. So CrossFit Games open.
Jamie Hadid is on it.
Yeah, Jamie Hadid is on it. Two of the girls that were on RP programming for dieting took first in the world in 2 of the CrossFit workouts. The thrusters and what you call it? The thrusters and thrusting and rowing one, and the wall ball double unders and muscle up workout. They were both Renaissance periodization athletes. So you can't tell me it doesn't work. Again, what do you think they focus on first? The balance of it all, and then they start working the timing. So it does work. Do they probably put in Pop-Tarts and all that stuff? Oh yeah, they do. Why? Because it makes your mind feel what? Happy. It makes you feel happy. It does. Who likes to be on a diet and just sit there and eat, 80 grams of oatmeal? I tell you right now, I can't do that. I can't sit there and eat 80 grams of oatmeal. I'm sorry. I can't sit there and eat 120 grams of rice. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I have to figure other ways out, but it helps me out. But again, at the end of the day, I'm still putting in a clean diet because all my other meals were very clean. Okay? All right? Again, so that talks about the aspect of the performance side and then the lifestyle wise.
How many days a week do you think is light versus heavy versus moderate?
That's on you, on how your training day goes. So if on the paperwork right now, guys, it says on there, we just go there quick on the paperwork, it says right there, for a light day, it's just a CrossFit workout when you go into the CrossFit workout. So if you come in for a class, that's a light day. But if you're a competitive athlete who is CrossFitting twice a day or just doing a CrossFit workout plus weightlifting, you're going to be putting in moderate. All right? That means
the double carbs.
No, that means 1.5. 1.5. Now, the heavy day is the 2 gram body weight, which is a CrossFit competition.
Okay.
Right? Where I'm working out 3 times or 4 times in one day, and I have to put in that much carbohydrates in my system.
What if someone is training 7 to 10 workouts a day because they're a regional competitor?
You're training 7 times a day?
Like literally, like putting in like 7 different, 5-10 minute wads throughout their workouts.
You pretty much heavy day.
Yeah, heavy day.
A heavy day. You're literally putting a heavy day in. And again, like I said, going with that has to go in that goes into recovery and talking all about stuff. But if you're doing that, you're putting in a heavy day. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. That means for me, if I was training 7 times a day, that means I was CrossFit in the morning, weightlifting in the afternoon.
Well, not so much 7 times a day. It's probably 3 or 4 workouts. 2, 3 right now. 2 hours, 2 more, 3.
Yeah.
Not me.
I'm saying for Carly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if she's working out in the morning, right, she needs to put her carbohydrates in here, and then she has a clean meal here, and then she puts all her carbohydrates again around here. This training session, she eats clean again, she eats here. So pretty much her 3 meals during a training session are going to be high glycemic carbohydrates because she needs to recover herself. But her meals between that are going to be super clean. And her nighttime meals are going to be whatever else. Again, it just goes on the time aspect for her to do that. Again, if she's just training and just doing calorie balance, you're just going to break down that.
So your calories stay the same though?
Your calories increase now.
Oh, they increase on the moderate and heavy day.
Yes, so if you look at the numbers real quick, if you look at it, so on a light day, you're at 1750 as a 130-pound athlete, right? And you look at it, and they increase onto a moderate day and a heavy day. They pretty much increase by 350 to 450 calories a day if you're doing it in your training session. Yeah.
Oh, I thought of something. So, my higher carbohydrate things that aren't super real food, nutrient dense, are just fruit, high sugar fruits. So that's between the Pop-Tarts and freaking rice or sweet potatoes is like bananas and like mango, papaya, pineapple, like sugar fruits. So that's been my difference is I'll have the more heavy stuff make up not like right after the workout instead of the pop fruit.
And I can't sit there and eat 5 cups of fruit. I can't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah, but most people aren't as heavy as you.
Well, that's not the point though. The thing is though, are you really gonna, like, the thing is that you're trying to get all your carbohydrates in as soon as possible in that time window. Okay? And that's pretty much what it is. Everyone knows there's a 90-minute window after your training session that you need to get all your carbohydrates in as much as possible and your proteins. There's no need for fats in the training session because it's gonna slow down the breakdown of your carbohydrates into your body and the vitral levels. Again, I'm not saying like sit there and eat fruit all the time, but you know, don't be afraid to throw in, you know, something in there like that's gonna be higher. Again, like I said, the Targo is great. The Targo for 1 scoop, I think 2 scoops of a Targo is like 70 grams of carbs. That's all it is. That's okay. What's up?
You do the squeezy food, like the baby food, the one that's like strictly like just sweet potato like pure, or applesauce, like applesauce with
I actually use that. I actually use the vegetable one for my belly days.
Yeah, so I bring those during weightlifting because like halfway through I'm done.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah, so high sugar fruits are just like the fast releasing carbohydrates like processed.
All right, guys. Any questions? I know I got told people want templates or want a breakdown for like. And what I'll do is I'll break down your calories from rest days to light days to moderate and heavy days. All right, and I'll just focus on calorie balance. All right, if you want to do that instead. If you want to jump onto the group, again, we'll take 10 people and we'll just focus on it. I don't care if you're from another gym or whatever else, we'll be on the same group together and we'll focus on it together. Again, like I said, if you want to hit me up or hit the Facebook page up or whatever else, and be like, hey, today I'm just doing this, this, and this. I'm like, that's pretty much a light day, right? If you go in and you see the board, you're squatting multiple reps and you're doing 20,000 thrusters, then you might want to be like, okay, this is a moderate day, right? Again, it's all here knowing what you want, what's going to happen with the day of the CrossFit. A lot of times after you go into your CrossFit workouts, you do this, and you go into your weightlifting program and you do this. So if you're CrossFitting once in the morning and you're weightlifting in the afternoon or you're weightlifting right afterwards, make sure you know it's a moderate day. All right? If you're just CrossFitting in the morning, just know it's a light day. Again, you're allowed to keep those papers, guys, and templates, guys. You can pass it back to me. And then if there is your weight, that's your weight, all right, let me know and I'll let you take it for 30 bucks. Well, with that being said, give me your email because I'm going to send you some other stuff along with it. So I'm going to send you how to break it down if you need to flip-flop it. And again, it's not super hard to understand. If I train in the evening time, just rotate all the meals the opposite way. Does that make sense? Right? If I'm training in the afternoon, now I just go by meals. So my first 2 meals are going to be a little bit lower fat, or lower carbohydrates, higher fats, and that meal prior to my training session, which is an hour and a half, 2 hours. Now I'm going to put my carbohydrates at what? 50%. And during my training session, I'm going to put it at 40. And then right after that, I'm going to put it at 35, an hour and a half, 2 hours after. And then my last meal, probably going to bed, is probably going to be very low carbohydrate meal, probably higher fat.